Hi there, my name is Chirabovaila Alice Karemani, and today we are going to confer about ways on how we can mitigate the risks or the impacts of COVID-19. Our question today is, how can the landlords and property managers navigate rent remittances? Today we have very interesting people, and they are based on expertise. We have Moses Lutaro from Broad Property Group. This is the Managing Director of Broad Property Uganda. You're most welcome, and thank you for offering to give us your views from the property manager's point of view. And then we have Dr. Flores Nabozebale, a registered land surveyor, but right about now, she is going to give us views of a landlady, not the surveying bit. Thank you so much, and you're welcome, Florence.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Dr. Florence.
Yes, please.
Tenants are worried. They don't know whether they are supposed to pay rent, whether they are going to receive waivers from a landlady like yourself. They don't know whether you're going to reduce the payments. You as a landlady, you have obligations to meet. I mean, you have to provide habitability of these properties. Essentials have to be in place. I mean, we are in COVID-19. We need to be in clean environments. Properties have to be cleaned because water has to run, security has to be in place. But then we anticipate that there could be rental areas in place already. That is, if you're not experiencing some already for March and April. So we want to know from the perspective of a landlady, especially if omuntu wawansi, if I could put in the local language, that person who earns hand to mouth, what are you planning to do for them? What kind of setup do you have in place to make sure that these people still stay in their houses, but then again, you have to receive the money despite the crisis at hand?
The first thing, I will learn my people a little more. Okay? Yes, I will be humane and understand what everyone is going through, but I will open up my communication lines between me as their landlady and them as my tenants. Because at the back of my mind, I know my tenants are my clients. They are my customers.
They are the king.
Okay? So I will not treat them as though they are outsiders. I treat them as people I need. So I'll open up the channels of communication. I will understand what these people go through or what they are going through.
Are they working or they're not working?
Are they working or they're not? Because, for example, I have people who are not working right now. Okay? On my houses, I have butchers. I have those on my houses. I have border guys. Yes, you could say that, okay, they told them to work up to 5. They are working, but they're not carrying passengers.
It's not as effective as it used to be.
It is not as effective as it used to be. So I don't expect them to be getting as much money as they would be getting to be able to pay me. But still, I also need my money.
You need it.
So I'll create my balance. That's why I've told you, I'm going to open up my communication lines. I'm going to understand what they're actually going through.
So if you understand them, are you going to reduce the rent, for example, because they're not working?
I'm not going to reduce the rent, by the way. But depending on what someone is going through, I'm going to draw up a payment plan. All right? If you cannot pay this money this 1 month, I'm going to divide this money that you could pay or you should have paid over a duration. Okay? So I can also get this money because I also need it. Just as the COVID is affecting you, COVID is also affecting me.
So you are, despite the fact that they have to get to receive deferred payments as you are proposing to them, still these properties are going to be clean in a very good environment, and this won't affect you as a landlady, because I could anticipate that you might not provide these essentials because you're not receiving the money on time.
Now, because I'm not receiving the money on time, definitely we shall need to cut down on some of the things. If I'm having 2 people guarding your premises, then I'll have 1 to be able to cut the costs. All right?
We're going to revise the entire setup.
We're going to revise the setup. Of course, looking at me as your landlady and looking at you, because we are both affected in this thing. Then also, depending on how the situation is, because I'm not going to treat a person who has been working at a pharmacy, all right? Because for them, they could be working minimally. But I have primary school teachers
who have been home for a longer time.
Who have been home for a longer time, yes, but have also not been working. So I'm going to treat these people.
Their treat is better than the ones who are at least getting something out of this.
I'm going to treat these people differently, all right? And I may also reach a point where I have to say, you know what? Let's forget about the money.
Wow.
Yes.
Which category is this? This could be that they could receive this waiver.
This category will be for people who I know really have been paying their money, all right? But because of this COVID, are unable to pay the money. those I can easily say, you know what? I will let you
So
pass.
that means someone who has been defaulting before even COVID are more likely to face it rough with you, landlady.
Those ones who have not been paying, of course I'll not be as kind
As
as
the ones
those
who
who
have
have not. But
Thank you.
even then, for those that have been paying, all right, I'll look at the kind of business you do so I can forge away and make a decision about your situation.
Thank you so much, Florence. That was so ideal and we appreciate. Back to you, Moses. You are the professional in this thing. You're the property practitioner. You are the Brawl Property Uganda. We are in unprecedented and uncertain times. We don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. We anticipate rental areas in place. It could be daunting on your side whereby you might end up not achieving your role. For example, rental collection. Landlady wants their money. As Brawl Property Uganda, what interventions do you have in place so that at least we should have it collected?
Yes, thank you very much, Viola, and thank you for hosting us. Maybe for the benefit of our viewers, what I need to emphasize is it's good that we're addressing the elephant in the room, like we normally say. COVID is here. Is it going to stay here for the long term? Maybe not. But the short-term implications on the property sector generally are going to be felt, and they're already being felt. But I would like to draw my arguments around the two-sided bit of it, because when you're looking at property, you're looking at the occupier, who is the tenant, and you're also looking at the landlord. Now, Dr. Florence has elaborated very well what our landlord today would be doing. But we need to go further and look at how about the institutional landlords?
Exactly.
How about the listed funds? How about your private equity funds that have invested in property? So when you look at how some of these investment decisions are made, and because everything that we do in property, the value of the asset is a function of the rentals that are coming out of
Absolutely,
it.
absolutely.
So every time you say rent is not going to be paid, the values are being impacted one way or the other. So what we're trying to do at Brawl, from a purely landlord or asset management point of view, is to tell our landlords, look here, this is the tenant profile of the tenants you have in a building. If it's a commercial property, we'll tell you tenant XYZ have been trading during COVID. So, and if you look at the rent that they're paying, because again, when you talk about rent, you're talking service charge, you're talking rent, you're talking car parking fees. So we need to look at all this in totality. And the first stage would be, okay, given the 10 tenants we have, maybe 7 have been trading. So the 3 that have not been trading, we'll sit down with them and say, okay, your tenant covenants are like this, but this is the situation we're in.
You were trying to strike a compromise between a tenant and a landlord who have covenants at hand. Some could not have covenants.
Yes, where you don't have covenants, unfortunately in a market like ours where you don't have well-regulated real estate market, it's going to be a question of goodwill on either party.
Exactly.
So if you're coming to the table for equity, you should come with clean hands.
Perfect.
So if you've been paying your rental, say Q1 Jan to March is paid, and you're saying, guys, I can't afford April rental or April, May, June because of COVID, we'll sit down with you and advise the landlord and say, look, your tenant X, given the historical performance of this tenant, it's important we come in some interventions. For example, can we waive, the car parking fees for that month? Can we look at, maybe deferred rental payment instead of paying it right now? You can, but here it's going to be more on the goodwill of the tenant, because as a landlord, you should know: do you want to lose the tenant now and take 2 years without getting one, or you want to keep the one you have? A lot of more people are going to start working from home. So what does that
Absolutely,
mean
absolutely.
for our commercial office developers? So you're going to have to fight as a landlord to retain your tenants. You're going to have the difficult, the unpleasant, sort of conversations with them. Because the same retailers you have in one shopping center, you're going to need them in another shopping center.
Absolutely.
So you want them to see through this situation.
Okay, thank you, Moses. And now, as Brawl Property Uganda, during such a crisis whereby we anticipate to have grieved tenants, whereby apart from a landlady like Florence, how she just sounded a bit lenient to the tenants, so we could have landlords who could go away with the president's directive and they're evicting people. Do you have any interventions as Brawl Property Uganda, how you can come in to help out such grieved tenants?
Yes, thank you, Viola. Under our occupier services business, we typically represent tenants. And what we would advise tenants, especially the big occupiers, is to try and appoint a tenant representative. I would be happy to represent most of you. But what I'm looking at is you look at your list, because most of the big occupiers, the big tenants, have tenants agreements in place. So now that's how you start that conversation and say, guys, this is what I signed. But all I can say is that there are people who are experienced, who have what it takes in terms of the market knowledge to advise occupiers in these difficult times. We've actually issued out a notification to most of our occupier tenants, clients, and telling them, guys, if you need help, these are the areas. You need to look at the break clauses in those leases. You need to look at force majeure clauses. Those are very important. So the approach will be basically the entire covenant that you have with them,
Wow.
and the strategy of the tenant going forward.
Thank you, Moses. That takes me back to landlady. Florence, despite the fact that you're trying to look at ways of mitigating this risk, whereby we wish to know how you're going to navigate this rent remittance, don't you think you're being too lenient to some of these landlords, or rather tenants? Or is it because we're talking about Omuntu Wansi?
It's not because we're talking about Omuntu Wansi. First of all, it's being humane. But at this point of life, we are looking at survival. People are in survival mode. How do you expect someone to give you their rent of 100,000 when they can't even find 1,000 to feed their family?
Absolutely.
Okay? So as we do these things, we do them because we see the situation. Even then, how would I want to have empty houses? I rather have 1 over 0, all right? Then maybe I have to keep getting a car in these COVID times to go there or get a permit to go and check on my property. Yet when I have someone in the property, I can give a call and ask, how is the property? Or how are you?
Thank you so much, Florence. And back to the viewers, I hope we have understood this very well. We do not think that landlords, landladies are going to waive off rent. No, it is not the case. We are only trying to provide solutions on how this can be done smoothly. We are trying to strike compromises so that even if we pay the rent, but we pay it in a much more organized manner, whereby we don't expect to see at least evictions taking place. That takes me back to the directive that was passed by the president, whereby we have seen evictions being banned. We don't expect at least a landlord to evict a tenant anytime sooner. What is your reaction, Moses, in that regard?
It's a very plain and simple directive. I don't see any landlord, trying to go against the presidential directive. Evictions during this time, whether pre-COVID or after COVID, all the landlords, and I want to think Dr. Florence agrees with me, you want to preserve your tenants. So you don't preserve your tenants by evicting them.
Absolutely.
What you want is to work out
a plan
with them that is going to keep them around, but also make them survive.
Thank you so much, Moses. Florence, do you have something to say?
Hearing from Moses, I have learned, yes, that I have to have agreements with my tenants.
Thank you.
Between me as their landlady and their tenants, so we can understand each other. Because in this business, we all need each other. It's not just about the tenant, and it's not just about you as the landlady. That's what I've learned.
Hope that a tenant out there, they know how to go about their landlord. They know that, number one, they must approach them. And the landlord also should be able to give a platform to the tenant so that they can have a channel of communication. At the end of the day, we hope to get solutions. Thank you so much. We pray that we shall get out of this. Stay prayed up. Thank you.